Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Welcome to the new FCC headquarters. I've actually been waiting more than 3 years to say that to this group, because as you all know, it's been over 3 years since this committee met in person. We're going to do everything we can to make sure that today's meeting was worth the wait. And from the energy in the room, I can see we're already off to a really terrific start. So thank you to everyone for joining us today, including everyone who is online. More importantly, thank you for volunteering to be a part of this important committee. A few more thank yous. I want to call out your co-chairs, Kim Charlson and Kyle Dixon. And I want to say that we appreciate them leading this meeting and leading this committee. I also want to thank the storied leader of our Disabilities Rights Office, Susie Rosen-Singleton, and the broader staff of the Disabilities Rights Office and Consumer and Governmental Affairs Bureau for all the work they do to support this committee. Finally, I'm going to give a special shout out to the National Association of the Deaf and the National Black Deaf Advocates. Here's why. These two long-term members of this committee have been working together to spread the word about the Commission's Affordable Connectivity Program, which provides monthly discounts to those who are struggling to pay for broadband service. Thanks in part to their efforts, we now have more than 20 million households nationwide who have signed up for this program. So thank you. Even though it has been over 3 years since this committee has met in person, both this group and the Commission have managed to get a lot of work done during this time. So I'm going to give you a brief recap of some recent progress, particularly progress since we last met in April. And then I'm going to get into what we'll be doing going forward. So let me start with an action that this committee helped make possible. Our new rules to make sure video conferencing platforms like Zoom, Teams, and WebEx are more accessible. You know, when physical doors closed during the pandemic, the virtual spaces provided by conferencing platforms instantly became an essential way to connect for work, school, healthcare, and simple contact with family and friends. And while we have finally moved back to in-person meetings, as evidenced by this meeting, the role video conferencing platforms play in modern life remains vital, as evidenced by the fact that today we have an online audience. Yet, for so many people with disabilities, making effective use of these video conferencing platforms continues to be a challenge. We have heard about problems with captioning, like ineffective display of sign language interpreters. We have heard about inability of blind or low vision users to find and use volume controls. And we've heard a lot about difficulty with user control of accessibility tools. If that weren't enough, there was also no easy way to use relay services on these video conferencing platforms. This June, on a bipartisan basis, the Commission changed all that. We started by clarifying that interoperable video conferencing services must comply with our accessibility rules as established by the 21st Century Communications and Video Accessibility Act. And we proposed new rules to further improve the accessibility of video conferencing services with performance objectives. So this technology and market for video conferencing services, we know it changed forever during the pandemic. And with this action, our accessibility policies have changed to keep pace. But we're not done yet. Comments on our rulemaking on video conferencing are due by October 6th, 2023. I thought that was really far away, but perhaps I'm still stuck in the summer and living as if it's before Labor Day. Maybe some of you are too. As a whole, this group has already spoken on these issues. Of course, with your 2022 report, you got us started down this path, which has helped tremendously inform what we've done to date. But we welcome additional insights from all of you in today's audience. And there's another ongoing proceeding where we would encourage you to weigh in. It was about a year ago that the Commission voted to require prison phone providers to offer access to all relay services supported by the Telecommunications Relay Services Fund, as well as American Sign Language point-to-point video communications. Thanks to our actions, those with disabilities who are incarcerated will have a right to basic communications. And that's a right that for too long has been too often been disregarded and forgotten. We're currently seeking comment on how we might extend this obligation to smaller jurisdictions, and we're asking some other questions. Again, this is an area where we would welcome this group's expertise. Now, continuing with this theme of soliciting your advice, a week from today, the Commission's Task Force to Prevent Digital Discrimination is going to host a listening session to gain additional information and understanding about broadband access experiences unique to persons with disabilities, including challenges, barriers, and just as importantly, potential solutions. Now, this public gathering is next Thursday, September 14th at Gallaudet University from 9:30 to 12 p.m. So we hope you can join us at that morning. I think it's going to be an important discussion as part of our broader proceeding to prevent digital discrimination. Now, consistent with your history, it looks like I don't have to wait to get some fresh and up-to-date advice from this committee, because as this group knows, direct video calling makes it possible for American Sign Language users to directly communicate with ASL fluent customer care providers and others. That is why the agency has a direct video calling line for answering questions. And that's also why you got together and formed a working group on this issue. And you're voting this morning to approve a report and recommendations from this working group. I just want to thank you again for advancing such important and timely work. At the same time, your audio description working group is exploring ways to ensure the seamless transition of audio description files for IP programming. Again, you're modern and thinking ahead, and I'm looking forward to an update on your progress. I'm also pleased that you've now formed a working group to improve relay services for people with multiple disabilities. This is such a good idea, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you come up with. Thank you for taking the initiative. And in closing, I just want to thank everyone for being here, for your smarts, your energy, and your enthusiasm for making sure that communications are accessible for all. You know that's a worthy goal. You also know that it takes work. So please know I am committed to doing that work together with you. Thank you again for being here and for your service to this committee. I wish you a terrific in-person meeting.
Thank you, Chairwoman Rosenworcel. We thank you for your leadership as well as your friendship to this community. I'd now like to introduce Alejandro Rourke, who is the Chief of the Consumer and Governmental Affairs Bureau.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Alejandro Rourke. I am wearing glasses, a striped blue shirt, and a striped tie. I am very happy to be here with you all today. It is the DAC's first meeting in person since February of 2020. It is the first in this building, like Chairwoman Rosenworcel mentioned, so it really is an honor to be able to welcome you all into our new FCC headquarters. As we start the day, I'd like to take a moment to commemorate a major accessibility milestone. This month marks the 50th anniversary of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. The Rehabilitation Act was the first law to provide equal access to people with disabilities by removing architectural, employment, and transportation barriers, and sections 501 and 503 of the law specifically prohibit federal agencies from discriminating against individuals with disabilities. Together, we have and continue to make great strides to ensure accessibility for people with disabilities in federally funded or operated programs. While I'm up here, I'd like to flag or echo a couple of things coming up later this month. So as the chairwoman mentioned, the Task Force to Prevent Digital Discrimination, we're hosting a listening session next week and would really love all of you to be there. So please help us spread the word there. And another important upcoming date is the National Digital Connectivity and Lifeline Awareness Week, which is scheduled for next week as well, September 11th through the 15th. And the purpose of DC law is to leverage the availability of FCC discount programs to create more on-ramps to accessible digital connectivity for eligible households and individuals. We will be sharing more information next week, which we hope that you will disseminate to your respective members. And I also want to take a moment today, right now, this week, to acknowledge the weather and how during this time of year when we are more likely to have a number of emergencies across the country, accessibility needs to be integrated into all that we do, especially where access to accessible emergency information is critical for people with disabilities. Your support in preparing for the upcoming nationwide alert test in October and your efforts to educate your respective members about the best practices for accessible emergency preparedness are much appreciated. Now, I feel like I gave us all a lot of homework and added quite a few things to your calendar in September, but that is all to say that you are all important stakeholders to me and to the agency, and we couldn't do the work that we are doing without your help. So I want to take a moment to acknowledge our hardworking co-chairs, Kim Carlson and Kyle Dixon, for steering the DAC with unwavering commitment, expertise, and purpose. So thank you very much. The audio description group has been breaking ground on ensuring seamless audio description content in our ever-evolving digital landscape. And the direct video communications working group has been diligently working to address accessibility in video communications. We look forward to learning more about your efforts during today's meeting. Thank you all for your dedication. I look forward to our continued partnership in optimizing disability access to modern communications, video programming, and emergency communications. And lastly, I want to take every moment that I can to thank and appreciate both Susie Singleton, Diane Bernstein, the entire staff of DRO for their leadership at the Commission and for working so effectively across the agency and beyond. I am personally grateful to be able to work alongside them to ensure that no one gets left behind and that we are doing everything possible to expand digital opportunity to everyone, everywhere. So with that, I am very happy to pass the mic over to Diane Bernstein.
Thank you, Alejandro. Just a brief welcome to everyone. I know this is a thank you portion of the meeting, so there's a lot to get to after this, but it really is terrific seeing everybody here today. And I want to also echo what Alejandro said about thanking the very hardworking staff, the Disability Rights Office, who have helped make this event today possible. So with that, I will turn it over to the co-chairs.
Great. Thank you, Diane, and thank you, Alejandro. The meeting's already been called to order, so we don't need to do that. I introduced myself. I am Kyle Dixon, Vice President for Program Network Policy at NCTA, the Internet and Television Association. And I'd like to introduce my co-chair, Kim Charlson, of the Perkins School for the Blind. I'm very excited to be here. I had the honor of serving last year in the DAC, in the previous DAC, and I saw what we were able to do with the kind of hard work and passion and collaboration, even remotely. And I can only imagine now that we have a bit more flexibility to meet in person at times, I can only imagine how much we'll accomplish. So it's really great to be here. As with all federal advisory committees, of which this committee is one, we will want to have interaction with the public. So at the end, we will have time for live audience participation. Members of the public who are remote can email questions to livequestion, one word, at fcc.gov. That's LIVEQUESTIONS, live questions, sorry to clarify, at fcc.gov.
All right, thank you, Kyle, and thank you to all the staff, the hard work everyone's put in today. I'm Kim Charlson, and I am the Executive Director of the Perkins Braille and Talking Book Library and Supervisor for the I Can Connect program at Perkins. And it's a tremendous honor to be here today in our first face-to-face meeting. And I'm looking forward to the opportunity to meet many of you here today, in person, live, no Memorex. So, again, thank you so much, and we will turn it over to our hardworking program officer, who is a tremendous help to Kyle and myself, Josh Mendelson, and for more logistics and details about this meeting today. Thanks, Josh.
Hello, everyone. My name is Josh Mendelson. I am the designated federal officer for the Disability Advisory Committee. We truly appreciate the time and effort that each and every one of you has taken to be here with us today, especially on one of the hottest days of the year. I do apologize for that. So I just wanted to take a few moments to review some housekeeping items and some rules and just some protocols for the meeting that we'll ask you to follow in order to ensure a smooth and effective meeting that is accessible to everyone. First, and maybe most importantly, the restroom locations. So just outside of the room, on both sides of the door, on the left and the right-hand sides, you will see the restrooms. Fire exits can be found. If we do have some kind of emergency, please do evacuate through the main doors and through security to get outside of the building into the hot weather, unfortunately. We also have side exits over to my right. So that's on my right-hand side, if I'm getting that correct. Yeah. And so if you are facing the dais, it is to your left in that case. Meals and beverages are also available. We have breakfast and we'll be providing lunch later on. Please know that those meals and beverages are only for those individuals who are seated at the table, as well as for the staff who are supporting the members of this event. During this meeting, we will allow one person to have the floor at a time. If you do wish to say something, please take your name tent and turn it so that it is vertically on its side, and that way we can see you. Please wait until one of the co-chairs calls you or recognizes you, so either Kyle or Kim will call and recognize you once your name tag has been raised. And make sure you do wait a moment for the camera to focus in on you. We have cameras all around the room, so do take a moment for them to focus in on you. And please be sure to identify yourself and your organization every time you speak. Please also pace yourself and do take pauses. This is not a race, except if we do go over time. And when you have finished making your statement, please put your name tag card back down so that it is horizontal on the table. This meeting is open to the public, and it is also being live streamed via fcc.gov/live. The caption transcript is also available if you want to catch up using some of those transcripts. Public participation is welcome, and we will have an open mic toward the end of this meeting for those who had asked questions or who wish to make comments from the public. We will also accept comments via email. just as Kyle has already mentioned. That address is livequestions@fcc.gov. Again, that is livequestions @fcc.gov. Are there any quick questions from the membership before I turn it over to Kim? Okay, seeing none, I will turn it over to Kim Charlson, who is the co-chair, who will begin the roll call. Kim?
Thank you, Josh. All right, now's the opportunity for me to get a better sense of who's here today, and we're going to start the roll call, and we're going to go around the table so that we have an opportunity to hear live voices from each of the representatives who are here today or their designee alternates. So we will go to my left. Again, I'm Kim Charlson, and I represent the Perkins School for the Blind, and my title is Executive Director of the Perkins Braille and Talking Book Library. And we'll go to the left around the room.
Again, I'm Kyle Dixon, Vice President and Deputy General Counsel for Program Network Policy at National Cable Telecommunications Association, NCTA.
Hello, I am Josh Mendelson once again. I am the Designated Federal Officer for the Disability Advisory Committee, the DAC.
Hello, everyone. Great to see everyone. Welcome to our new building. I'm Susie Rosen-Singleton, and I'm the Chief of the Disability Rights Office. And I look forward to working with you this morning.
Hello. Is that working now? Hi, I'm Elliot Greenwald, Deputy Chief of the Disability Rights Office.
Hello, good morning. It's wonderful to see everyone. I'm Richard Ray, and I'm with the National Emergency Numbering Association.
Good morning. I'm Darlene Parker with the National Captioning Institute.
Good morning. I'm Tom Ludkowski, Vice President, Accessibility, Comcast, NBC Universal. Nice to be here.
Good morning. I am Michael Maddox with Sorensen Communications, Director of Government and Regulatory Affairs. Happy to be here.
Good morning. My name is Katie Schmid. I'm the Senior Director of National Initiatives at the ARC of the United States.
Good morning. Matthew Palmer, Senior Compliance Manager with Clear Captions.
Good morning. My name is Beth Slough. I am Hamilton Relay's Director of Account Management and Compliance. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Hi, I am Christine Hackman. I am on Amazon's Connectivity Public Policy team, and I am delighted to be here today as Amazon's alternate to the DAC.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Clark Rockfall. I'm the Director of Advocacy and Governmental Affairs for the American Council of the Blind.
Good morning. My name is Josh Pila, representing the National Association of Broadcasters.
Good morning. My name is James Craig. I'm in the Apple Accessibility Standards Group. I'm joined here today by my alternate, Megan Stull, in the audience. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Hi. Hello. Oh, there it goes. Hi, I'm Justin Young, National Federation of Blind. I'm a government affairs to the DAC today. Pleasure to be with you all.
Thank you, Tim. And I see that Commissioner Simington is here. So if you want to come up, and we'd happy to welcome you. Is he? Did he step out?
This is Susie speaking. We're going to go ahead and pause our roll call right now and go ahead and welcome the Commissioner Simington. Oh, sorry about that. He just stepped out, someone said. All right, so I guess we'll go ahead and continue with roll call then. And then when he comes back, we can pause.
And this is Josh Middleton. Just a quick instruction for the microphones. So if you're taking a look at the microphone, you will see an icon. It looks kind of like a head and shoulders icon. Make sure you press that. If you see the red light go on, then that means you can go ahead and speak. And then once you're done speaking, go ahead and press that icon once again to turn it off. Lisa, please, go ahead.
Hello all, you can hear? Okay. This is Lisa Hamlin from Hearing Loss Association of America, and happy to see everyone here today.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Erin Kuby. I'm with FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency. Good morning, everybody. My name is Annie Ureski, and I am from the National Association of State Agencies Serving the Deaf and Hard of Hearing. Can folks see me? Okay. Good morning, everybody. I'm Amanda Montgomery, and I'm with Convo Communications. I'm the Chief Legal Officer, and I am thrilled to be here in person, face-to-face. My alternate is in the audience as well. Tommy Horges is here. Hello, everybody. Good morning. My name is Brianne Berger, and I'm from the U.S. Department of Education, the Office of Special Education Rehab Services, OSERS. And my alternate is here as well in the audience, Eric Raff. Eric Arusso is here. Thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Anne Marie Killian, and I'm the CEO for TDI, and I am delighted to be here. My first time coming to the new building, and really looking forward to today. Hello, everybody. My name is Lisa Bothwell. I was trying to figure out who was voicing for me. I am a program analyst with the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Please ignore my name card. I am not at the DOT. Happy to be here today, just as everybody has said prior to me. Good morning, everybody. Hello, hello. It's a wonderful group. I'm Greg Leibach, Chief Legal Officer with ZP Better Together. Good morning, everybody. We are ready to go. This is history making. First time that I am here in the new building, very much looking forward to it. And my name is Mark Hill. I am the president of CPADO, Cerebral Palsy and Deaf Organization. Over to you, Teddy. Good morning, everybody. I am Theodore Dorset III. Folks call me Teddy, you may as well. I'm representing the National Black Deaf Advocates, and I'm really honored to be here. Good morning, everybody. This is Renee Pellerin. I'm representing the American Association of Deaf Blind, AADB. This is my first time in person at the building, so hello to you all.
Hi, Linda Vanderloop, AT&T, and I am so excited to see everybody in person after so long.
Yeah, it is, okay. Good morning, I'm Julie Robinson with Communication Service for the Deaf, or CSD as we like to call ourselves. And to echo everybody here, it's wonderful to see so many folks here in person. Very lovely to be here in the new building. Thank you so much.
My name is Lindsay Morris. I'm an occupational therapist and research scientist at the University of Pittsburgh in the Wireless Rehabilitation Research Engineering Center, supporting mainstream technology use amongst persons with disabilities. And I'm excited to be here today.
Good morning, everyone.
Wow.
I'm Christina Duarte with InnoCaption. I'm the Senior Director of Regulatory Affairs. Excited to be here.
Hi, everyone. I'm Avani Bell, Director of Connected Life with CTIA. Happy to be here representing CTIA as an alternate.
Hi, everyone. I'm Heather York from VITAC. I echo everyone's sentiments about this great building and the air conditioning.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Rachel Nemeth, and I'm a Senior Director of Regulatory Affairs with the Consumer Technology Association. Happy to be here with everyone today.
Good morning. I'm Sarah Malaire, Senior Advisor for Public Policy and Research at the American Foundation for the Blind.
Good morning. I'm Shelley Blakeney. I'm a Director of Government Affairs with T-Mobile. Happy to be here. Great to see everyone. Thank you.
Hello again. It's Alejandro Rourke, Chief of the Consumer and Governmental Affairs Bureau.
Good morning again. I'm Diane Burstein, Deputy Bureau Chief of Consumer and Governmental Affairs Bureau, and I'll hand it back to Kim.
Thank you, Diane. All right, I'd like to take a moment now to recognize Commissioner Simington, who is in the room, and we'd just like to hear a few remarks from you and a welcome. So thank you for being here today.
He hasn't come back.
He left again. I'm so sorry.
He'll be down in just a moment.
All right. He's the mystery man today, but we'll see him soon. So I'm going to move on for our updates from the Disability Rights Office staff team. And that would be... looks like that would be Susie Singleton and DRO Deputy Chief Elliot Greenwald to give some updates as well. So thank you to both of you for more detailed updates on your work.
Hello, this is Susie Rosen Singleton speaking again. And I'm here to provide an update along with Elliot. And I'm used to being interrupted, so if the commissioner comes back, I am happy to give him the floor. Okay, so I'd like to thank everyone for being here today, and also I'd like to thank Josh and Ivy and so many of you that have worked so hard to make this event possible. This is a very new experience for us, and I see the commissioner is here, so I will go ahead and turn the floor over to him. So a warm welcome to the commissioner. Thank you for being here.
There we go. So yes, I'd like to thank everyone for the opportunity to address them today, and in particular to Josh for the kind invitation to speak at the Disability Advisory Committee today. As most of you know, we have pending before the Commission an item to set video relay service rates going forward. I want to take this opportunity to thank Bureau staff for their tireless efforts to get a new rate card over the line. I'm confident that everyone in the building is united in the purpose to achieve functional equivalence and to fully fund the video relay service for the necessary transition to interoperability with existing video conferencing platforms. I look forward to working with my colleagues to sustainably support a robust and competitive market for the provision of video relay services now and in the future. It is by now a threadbare bromide that communications technology is in a state of evolution. Only somewhat less infrequently do we pronounce that the technological evolution of the present moment is epochal. Wireless technologies, 4G, 5G, satellites, the internet, edge providers, edge computing, over the air, over the top. Yet our graph of technological change, even when a series of discontinuous steps, has given the appearance of continuity if you just squint and zoom out a bit. And so if the future is anything like the past, one imagines that the present moment of artificial intelligence might be another such modest step in our technological evolution. But the next of our ever-ascending Escher-esque technological stair. I very much hope that it is so, because the alternative is quite literally unthinkable. But we have before us today in IPCTS a step in artificial intelligence that gives, at least at first blush, the appearance of tractability. I feel like I can grok automatic speech recognition, right? It's a computer that can understand speech and render it textually. We've had it for a while and it hasn't always been good, but it's getting better, a lot better. Perhaps some of you recall the early Simpsons episode in which the bullies in Bart's class discuss bullying one of the boys, the other boys in the class, Martin. One bully says to the other, "Hey, Dolph, take a memo on your Newton. Beat up Martin." So Dolph uses a stylus to write "beat up Martin" in cursive on an Apple Newton screen. For those of you who don't recall it, the Newton was one of the first personal digital assistants from the 1990s and boasted very bad handwriting recognition technology. So the Newton proceeds to translate the handwriting of "beat up Martin" to "eat up Martha." And for a long time, ASR2 was more "eat up Martha" than "beat up Martin." I'm sure that you've all seen some of the early attempts on YouTube, for instance, to provide automated closed captioning. Complete gibberish. In many cases, it was not merely unhelpful, it was actively harmful, often translating spoken language into text that was phonetically similar but directly contradictory in meaning. I have to imagine that people relying on early ASR suffered through a lot of throw out the Newton moments. ASR is better now, a lot better. Yet it's by no means perfect. Accented speech gives it trouble, like mine. Poor or incomplete audio gives it trouble. Speaking quickly often gives it trouble. My staff might say, for instance, that were some of my own speeches run through ASR, the results would be less than inspiring. And so in the context of IPCTS, best-in-class technology may yet remain supplementary to the arguably lower tech and arguably more reliable solution of a pair of human ears and a set of human fingers. And yet, we're on the way. And so when the Commission turns to setting rates for IPCTS, I'm excited to learn about the state of play for ASR and to consider the implications for what this next technological evolution means for IPCTS, both now and in the future. Thanks very much again for the kind opportunity to speak to you today, and I look forward to learning from the record.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. So, getting back to my updates, and speaking of artificial intelligence, I think we can all agree that it is here to stay. And so I'm excited that we are actually going to have the Arpansha, who will actually be able to speak about that. So that'll happen a little bit later. All right, so now back to my updates from my office. So this month is Emergency Preparedness Month. So it's really apt to start with the emergency accessibility work that DRO has been doing. That said, I encourage you to please check out ready.gov's website, because there'll be a lot of different resources available about how to get ready, because we're having emergencies left and right, apparently. So I'd like to start first with the FCC's announcement that recently happened about the emergency alert testing that will be happening on October 4th with a backup date of October 11th at 2:20 p.m. And so we're partnering with FEMA to test the nationwide emergency alerts. First, the alert system, and then the wireless emergency alert system as well. And those tests need to comply with the accessible requirements. We will release a public notice soon that will detail what those requirements are to make sure that they are accessible to people with disabilities. So I ask you and your members of your organizations to spread that word so we can get input about accessibility of those alerting tests. Also, FEMA will be releasing an ASL version soon. They've just confirmed an ASL video will be coming out, so there'll be more information to come about that. Also, please join us next week for our accessibility listening session, where we're going to talk about emergency alerts as well. So I look forward to working with you closer on that. Now, next generation 911. No one wants to call 911, but when we do, we want it to be accessible. And we recognize that the current 911 system is antiquated, and so we would like to move to the next generation 911, which will have everything in one platform. So that would be voice, data, video, files, text, everything will be IP-based for that to be able to happen. So we've just adopted a notice of proposed rulemaking from June 8th, and that's a proposed rule that requires all of the TRS providers to have an IP-based information and geolocation information that will transfer to the public safety answering points, or the PSAPs. And so that is to get ready for the NG 911. And so we also are working with text to 911 in tandem. And so that's that for NG 911. On that note, recently, television emergency information needs to be accessible as well, and we just granted the National Association of Broadcasters, the NAB, an 18-month extension on their waiver of being obligated to the audio descriptions of non-textual visual emergency images, for example, maps or other graphic displays. So at this point, we are requiring the NAB to submit quarterly reports to spell out what they're doing and working in that space to make that information accessible and best practices to be implemented. And they're going to be working with the disability community on that in an effort to develop automated technology as a solution for that. So eventually that will be something that will have to occur, and that waiver extends until November 26, 2024. On an annual basis, we release an annual notice and a reminder to industry about the importance and the requirement to make emergency television information accessible to people with disabilities. And it's the same information every year. We provide a link as well as an ASL version. We include the complaint process so that you can ensure that you have accessibility to that television information for when emergencies occur. Now, moving on to national security. On August 10th, the FCC released a notice of proposed rulemaking to seek comments on volunteer cybersecurity labeling program. I know that many of you have smart devices, and maybe you have a home security system or a digital personal assistant or a fitness tracker or a GPS personal assistant, baby monitors, home office routers. I know that a lot of us have those. And many people worry about the security and privacy of said devices. So we are proposed to adopt a requirement to label those devices if they want to participate to comply with our cybersecurity requirements and our protocols. So the impact for people with disabilities is that we're asking for your comment as far as what kind of guidelines do we need to make sure are in place so they are accessible. Of course, they have to follow the web initiative requirements as well as the ADA requirements. So we're asking for your input and comments, and that comment period closes on the 10th. Now, moving on to the last area, but not the least, talking about the modern communication and connectivity. So we've got a lot happening in that space. You already heard from the chairwoman about the digital listening session that we're going to have over at Gallaudet University. And that's going to be hosted by the FCC's Task Force to Prevent Digital Discrimination. And that will be an in-person event at Gallaudet University from 9:30 in the morning until 12 p.m. at the Student Academic Center. And we're going to release more information, such as the agenda is coming, but we will have a lot of local leaders and disability members from the community who will be present to provide input about the goal of addressing digital discrimination and understanding broadband access better, and what are the experiences that are unique to people with disabilities. And this will be recorded and archived on FCC's website, and ASL interpreters and captioning will be provided. And if there are other reasonable accommodations, too, let us know about that. But I do encourage everyone to participate in that to allow for better access. And also next week, we're going to be having the Digital Connectivity and Lifeline Awareness Week. And that's from September 11th until the 17th. And so the FCC is partnering with the National Association of Regulatory Utility Commissioners, the NARUC, as well as the National Association of State Utility Consumer Advocacy, which is NASUCA, to be able to kick off the annual Digital Connectivity and Lifeline Awareness Week. And that's also for people who cannot afford broadband. So we encourage you to look at fcc.gov/lifeline-consumer to be able to get the fact sheet about the event that's taking place next week and how to spread the word within your organizations as well. Now, moving on to data caps stories. We actually have established a portal in June to encourage you to be able to submit the stories and experiences as far as how the data caps have affected you as people with disabilities. So we need your stories to be able to understand better how that impacts you and impacts your accessibility to online education, telehealth, remote working, as well as other things. We do have an ASL video on that webpage as well, so thanks to Ivy Banyejo, who's here today with us, for putting in all the work to add that ASL video. So there should be an update to that soon. Thank you, Ivy. She's in the corner in the back of the room here. Thank you again, Ivy. Now, moving on to the last item that I wanted to mention before I turn it over to Elliot. We had a tremendous awakening during COVID, and we realized the importance and how important it is to stay connected in an accessible way. And with the video conferencing, that became our new norm. And with that, we realized how important it is to make sure that those platforms are accessible. So in June, we released a report and an order, an R&O, and a notice of proposed rulemaking and order on accessibility for video conferencing platforms for people with disabilities. And so the report and order says that existing accessibility requirements for advanced communication systems, ACSs, does apply to the video conferencing service providers. And the FCC has given the providers of those services until September 3rd of 2024 to come into compliance with those requirements. So the requirements we're seeking in the notice of proposed rulemaking is whether or not the proposed look specifically at the objectives, I guess, really, we're looking at the functionality of the platform. First, it's speech to text is one of the requirements, and captioning ability, as well as text to speech capability, sign language interpreting, and being able to see them on the display and how it functions, and being able to use it as part of the video conferencing platform. Also, should we have other performance metrics or objectives that would support other types of people with disabilities that we may not have listed in those prior? We also have, for example, the appearance of functionality, thinking about captioning in the font size or where it is located on the screen or the color of the font, similar to what we have on television screens. So there's a lot of questions that can be commented on. And actually those comments were due yesterday, but the reply to those comments are due October 6th of this year. So we do have some time to be able to get that feedback. Now, with that, we do have an important section on that website on video conferencing services, and that involves TRS, and that's the telecommunications relay services. And Elliot is our TRS person, and before I turn it over to Elliot, I would like to share with you an announcement. And it's my personal regret, but the warmest of wishes, I would like to announce that Elliot here is planning to retire at the end of this year. And so this will be his last DAC meeting that he will be presenting at. And his retirement is a tremendous loss for our agency, and yet a well-deserved respite for him. So please join me in giving Elliot a warm round of applause in appreciation for his commitment to the DAC, for his dedication, for his work to accessibility. So thank you so much. Thank you, Elliot. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Susie, and thank you, everyone, for your welcome. It is good that the last meeting of the DAC that I get to be at is an in-person meeting. It's been 2.5 years, and it's good to see everybody here in person. So the further notice also sought comment on rules for the integration of TRS with video conferencing without the need for a dial-up telephone connection. And in addition, when multiple communications assistants may be, sought comment on when multiple communications assistants may be assigned to relay service calls that involve users of different forms of TRS.
If we can just pause for a second, because the interpreters are not showing up on the screens. So we need help. Oh, okay, there we go. Got it. Okay, thank you. You can continue.
Oh, okay. Should I back up, or did I?
If you don't mind.
What?
If you don't mind.
Okay. Well, let me back up then, so that way nobody will have missed anything. All right. So the further notice also sought comment on rules for the integration of telecommunications relay services with video conferencing without a dial-up telephone connection, and when multiple communications assistants may be assigned to relay service calls with multiple people using the video conferencing services. So to develop some guidelines for that. Finally, the order partially waives for 1 year, subject to conditions, a TRS rule that restricts VRS users' ability to turn off their video cameras when they are not actively participating in the conference, and that waiver ends on August 1st of 2024. And so moving on, I'd like to address one number and 911 calling. This is an important issue that has been, that a number of people have brought to our attention. As many people know, VR apps on mobile telephones utilize numbers that are different from the native phone number on the mobile phone. Because texting on mobile phones utilize the native phone number, VRS users must have two different phone numbers, one for VRS and point-to-point video communications, and one for texting. This confuses the other party and inconveniences the VRS user. When a VRS user calls 911 from a mobile phone, dispatchable location information is not automatically included as a result of the native number not being included. So the FCC tasked MITRE with researching a solution to the VRS numbering problem and developing solutions to overcome these technical challenges. And any solutions developed can potentially be applied to other forms of internet-based TRS. For example, mobile-based Internet Protocol Caption Telephone Service and IP relay service. So moving on to some decisions that the FCC has made. On June 30th of this year, the Consumer and Governmental Affairs Bureau released an order extending the following previously granted VRS rule waivers through December 31st of this year, or the effective date of Commission action amending the waived rules, whichever is earlier. And that would be the 50% cap on call minutes handled by VRS CAs, the working at home, the requirement that CAs working at home have 3 years of experience as American Sign Language interpreters, and the ban on contracting with non-VRS certified entities for VRS interpreting services. Then on June 30th, 2023, the Consumer and Governmental Affairs Bureau released an order setting compensation rates for the interstate component of the state-managed forms of TRS. That would be traditional or TTY-based TRS, speech-to-speech relay, and analog caption telephone service. Also sought comment on determining the contribution factors for the interstate component. I'm sorry. The order determine the contribution factors for the interstate component of the state-managed forms of TRS to be based on each contributor's interstate and international revenues, and the contribution factor for the internet-based forms of TRS, video relay service, IPCTS, and IP relay to be based on each contributor's intrastate, interstate, and international revenues. And the order waived the expiration dates of the VRS compensation formulas through August 31st and the IPCTS compensation formula through November 30th of this year, or the effective date of Commission action establishing the respective new compensation formulas, whichever is earlier. Also on July 25th, the Consumer and Governmental Affairs Bureau released a public notice granting new 5-year certifications for each of the state and U.S. territory TRS programs. Then on August 17th, 2023, the Consumer and Governmental Affairs Bureau granted several temporary conditional waivers to permit, for a limited wind-down period, reimbursement for the TRS fund for exogenous costs incurred and to be incurred by Global VRS in providing VRS beyond its planned termination date of June 30th. Global VRS is terminating its involvement in the VRS program and will be winding down its provision of VRS. However, Global VRS will continue to provide for a limited period a specialized form of VRS utilizing video and text to people who are deaf-blind to provide for a smooth transition for consumers who rely on this form of VRS for functionally equivalent communication, while Sorensen is completing preparations to make an equivalent service available to such consumers. And lastly, on August 31st, the Consumer and Governmental Affairs Bureau released an order extending again the limited temporary waiver of the expiration of the TRS fund compensation formulas for VRS through either September 30th or the effective date of the Commission action establishing new compensation formulas, whichever is earlier. And as Commissioner Simington mentioned, a draft VRS compensation item which would consider adjustments to the VRS compensation formulas is currently on circulation with the FCC's commissioners' offices. And now I will turn the floor back to Susie or to Kyle or to Kim. To Kim. Kim is the one. Third time's a charm. Go ahead, Kim. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Susie and Elliot, for your reports. And next, we're going to discuss and hear from on the working group report and recommendations from the Direct Video Calling Working Group. I want to acknowledge all the hard work that's been put into this report by the working group team, and introduce to you Richard Ray, who has chaired the DAC's Direct Video Calling Working Group, and he is the co-chair of the National Emergency Number Association's Accessibility Committee. So I've read this report. I think you've done some pretty significant work here, and I'm very interested in hearing Richard's presentation to us and discussing the report in more detail. So thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Kim. I appreciate that. First, let me go ahead and introduce myself. I'm Richard Ray, and chair of the DVC Working Group, which is the Direct Video Calling Working Group. It's an honor for me to be able to provide this report and the recommendations. And this working group was established by the Commission to examine the current state of the use of direct video calling and the emergence of DVC technology, and proposed recommendations to advance and improve the use and deployment of DVC for services within government agencies as well as businesses and organizations. Now, this report was based on input from various members of the group, and the DVC work group has not formally sent out a survey, but has studied information about government agencies and businesses. If we can go to slide 3 now, please. So, the definition of DVC. Direct video calling is a service that allows conversations between a caller whose preferred language is American Sign Language and a customer service agent in a call center who communicates using ASL. The parties in a DVC call can communicate directly without the use of an interpreter or the use of a relay service. Slide 4, please. Now, establishing a DVC call center. The DVC has been implemented in a few private industry and government agency call centers. Now, the options to establish the DVC include 1, contracting a private company that has been approved by the Commission as a qualified direct video entity to supply technology, infrastructure, and assistance in recruiting, training, and setting up DVC to an existing customer service call center and provisioning the customer service contact number for the DVC service in the TRS numbering directory. Second, using an enterprise VRS account and have calls serviced by ASL fluent staff of the business or agency. 3, downloading the commission-developed ACE direct open source platform and using internal resources to create a DVC solution. Or 4, website chatbots, which are automated customer interaction, conversational experiences where customers can contact company representatives through a chat function that also includes a video feature to offer a DVC solution. Next slide, please. Now, what are the benefits of DVC? TTYs have many limitations, including a slow speed, and requires these individuals to communicate in a written or oral language. Accordingly, ASL users are best able to express themselves and comprehend others in sign language. DVC provides the following benefits for sign language users. First, DVC reduces the likelihood that call centers unfamiliar with or reluctant to use telecommunications relay services will hang up on sign language users. Number 2, DVC calls generally get resolved efficiently and effectively in short periods of time without the need for callbacks. 3, DVC allows callers to converse naturally using facial, body actions, and other nonverbal information as are necessary to convey thoughts and emotions. 4th, DVC is able to provide direct customer support in the preferred language of the deaf or hard of hearing customer. 5th, DVC promotes diversity, equity, and inclusion by creating job opportunities for sign language users who are deaf, deafblind, or hard of hearing. And lastly, DVC can increase customer retention and contribute to customer growth by handling customer service calls more expeditiously and satisfactorily. Next slide, please. Slide 6. Now, the DVC technology. DVC is enabled by using a combined video interactive voice response, or IVR for short, with an automatic call delivery, or an ACD for short, platform that operates in the same manner as an audio IVR ACD platform in a call center environment. This automated video phone technology allows incoming callers access to customer support via video as opposed to audio, utilizing either a video phone or a web application on a desktop, laptop, tablet, or other mobile device. Now I'd like to share with you some current technologies. The first one is the ACE platform. The ACE platform, otherwise known as the Accessible Communications for Everyone, was jointly developed by MITRE under the direction of the Commission as a free, direct, and universal open source video IVR ACD software platform that routes ASL users to ASL fluent customer service agents in call centers. ACE is the DVC system used by the Commission for its ASL consumer support line, and plans are in place for its enterprise version to be used by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, for its accessible communications for survivor support helpline. The second one is referred to as SOLVES, S-O-L-V-E-S, and it is a cost-based, secure, open-source, standards-based video IVR ACD platform comprised of server-side software and apps for most major operating systems. Solves has no limitation on the number of video calls that it can support at one time and provides IVR selections in ASL via motion video. All right, and then the next one is called NWISE, N-W-I-S-E, which uses a cost-based server-supported software, IVR ACD platform, that also offers apps for most major operating systems and has no limitations on the number of calls it can support at one time. DVC can also be conducted using existing VRS platforms, like what is being used at the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, or the EEOC, which is an IVR ACD unit, is not a requisite. The DVC primer includes a bare bones list for setting up a DVC line, which includes a high-speed internet connection, a minimum dedicated speed of 1 megabit per second download and upload per agent, video conferencing equipment, meaning a camera and a video screen. Additionally, a calling platform that is compatible with the National Relay Numbering Service, which could be any existing VRS system. Also, an ITRS-issued phone number. Oh, I already said that one. Okay, and then the next thing is personnel who are native users of American Sign Language, which increases the number of individuals with disabilities in the workplace and heightens your entity's profile with various disability communities. And last, website chatbots are a programmed chat interface a website visitor can interact with. They are programmed to closely mimic human behavior and interact with the website visitor in a conversational manner. Chatbots are programmed to refer to a live company representative and include the ability to video, allowing for DVC. Slide 7. The Commission's process for approval of qualified direct video entities is as follows. The Commission has set up a process by which providers called qualified direct video entities can obtain Commission approval to access the TRS numbering directory for the purpose of providing DVC. The Commission defines a qualified direct video entity as an individual or entity that is engaged in direct video customer support and is the end user customer that has been assigned the phone number used for the direct video customer support calls. And number 2 is the designee of such an entity. The Commission requires entities interested in obtaining DVC authorization to submit an application to the Consumer and Governmental Affairs Bureau. After receiving Commission approval to become a qualified direct video entity, the Commission's guidelines state that the entity may submit telephone numbers into the directory by including the numbers, the associated call routing information, and registration information in accordance with instructions provided by the TRS numbering administrator. Current DVC availability and presentations to the DVC working group. The Commission has approved 3 entities as qualified direct video entities. They are VTC Secure, NWISE, and Communication Service for the Deaf, otherwise known as CSD, all of whom now have access to the TRS numbering registry. Certified VRS providers also have access to the directory. Sorensen Communications, Convo Communications, and ZP Better Together. Slide 8. Okay. Can you read the topic out for? Okay, so this is the Commission's approval for the direct video entities. Providers are called qualified direct video entities and can obtain access to the TRS numbering directory for the purpose of providing DVC. Can you please go to the next slide for the live feed, please? There we go.
Okay, yeah. Then
so, whoa, that's too far for me to be able to read it on the screen there. Okay, so where are we? Okay, so I'm on the second bullet point there. Entities interested in obtaining DVC authorization must submit an application to the Consumer and Governmental Affairs Bureau. After receiving approval, the entity may submit telephone numbers into the directory by including the numbers, associated call routing information, and registration information in accordance with the instructions provided by the TRS numbering administrator. There are 3 approved entities at this time. VTC Secure, NWISE, and CSD have been approved as qualified direct video entities. Okay, now we can go to the next slide. Slide 8.
okay, I'm gonna read that.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and read what's on the slide and then go into some more detail. Implementation. There are a number of factors, including costs, capacity, and capabilities that can go into determining which solution is most appropriate for a call center contemplating the implementation of DVC. So there are 3 things: cost, capacity, and capabilities. Okay. So I'd like to go into some more details over those things. Now, cost. With respect to cost, ACE is currently the only free software available but does have maintenance costs. Both Solves, S-O-L-V-E-S, and NWise have implementation, development, and license fees. Now, on to capacity. Larger entities, such as government agencies, that are interested in adopting DVC should take into consideration call handling capacity. At the present time, Solves and NWise have no capacity limit, while ACE can handle up to 7 simultaneous video calls and even more with customization. And third, capabilities. Different capabilities and accessibility features also can differentiate DVC platforms from one another. For example, the type of access that consumers are given to IVR menus when they reach a call center differs across providers, with ACE's platform limiting users to static screenshot options, and other platforms provide interactive video of ASL-based call routing selections. Now, every organization, whether commercial or governmental, has its own unique needs, and there is no one platform that can be recommended over all others. It is a matter of selecting the platform that will fulfill the operational needs of each unique call center's structure and constituents. Slide 9, please. Okay, increasing DVC deployment and the reasons that DVC is not more widely employed. There's a lack of awareness of the DVC options, lack of awareness of potential demand, perception that options are limited, such as belief that third-party vendors are mandatory, and fourth, the belief that costs are high without understanding the potential benefits to the enterprise or agency. Okay. Slide 10. Once an organization has implemented DVC, what best practices should it follow to achieve maximum and effective use of DVC? For example, where do calls go when the DVC operation is closed? What happens when the consumer is transferred to a hearing employee? There are a number of actions a company or government agency can take to ensure the effectiveness and success of its DVC operations. These best practices may include, there are 7 points here. 1, after-hours service or notices. 2, web-based widget. 3, training and support services. 4, comprehensive and effective community outreach and education. 5, security, privacy, and confidentiality. 6, IT systems and internet speeds. And 7, the last point, effective process for interacting with telecommunication relay services. Consumer outreach. What should consumers know about the availability of DVC in customer service call centers? They can communicate directly with an ASL Fluent customer service agent in ASL via video. Number 2, DVC provides direct one-on-one communication. 3, the ASL Fluent customer service agents are trained and knowledgeable about the products and services of the company and must comply with all security and privacy requirements adopted by the individual companies and government agencies staffing the centers they call. Now, who should provide consumer outreach? The DVC-approved providers, organizations offering DVC service at their call center, deaf-centric community-based organizations, and the commission. Now, how would any best practices be publicized? 1, commission's website and social media. 2, websites, social media, and instructional materials included with products and services that are distributed by enterprises and government agencies using DVC. 3, websites and social media used by commission-approved qualified direct video entities. And number 4, through a consortium of deaf and deaf advocacy organizations' websites and social media. Slide 11. Okay, finally. Recommendations. Wait, hold on just a sec. Oh, okay. Just waiting for the screen to catch up. All right, we've got 8 recommendations to get through. The DAC recommends the Commission take the following steps to promote and support DVC operations. Number 1, the Commission should consider processes to increase availability of parties that can access the TRS numbering directory for organizations that are interested in implementing DVC. 2, to facilitate the enterprise or agency evaluation of whether there would be demand for DVC. The Commission can make it easier to get access to data about the total volume of relay service calls into an enterprise's call center to the extent that they have it. The information should only be available to the enterprises and agencies who are authorized to use the telephone numbers and come directly from the Commission or its authorized agent. This will give companies a better idea of the volume of calls they are likely to receive directly from ASL users if they add a DVC option to their call centers. 3, the Commission should develop an informational workshop for both organizations and government agencies interested in implementing DVC. This workshop should cover all options in addition to ACE and Commission-approved DVC providers, such as training and oversight of in-house ASL Fluent representatives. The workshop should include the role of the relay service providers. It should also include data and any available studies supporting the benefits of DVC to the enterprise or agency. The workshop could be publicized via the Commission's public notice. 4, the Commission should develop and implement public awareness campaigns to promote the adoption and utilization of DVC. Fifth, the Commission should work with the General Services Administration and other oversight agencies for assistance in reaching out to federal agencies whose constituencies could benefit from DVC. 6, the Commission should clarify the role of the user's default VRS provider and the DVC provider in effectuating a successful transfer for calls that need to be transferred from DVC to VRS or VRS to DVC, including how the handshake, so to speak, between DVC and VRS should take place. Next slide, 12. The Commission should issue a notice of proposed rulemaking to solicit comments on what rules to adopt to modify its current processes to allow flexibility but still ensure the quality of DVC service. Some questions that could be addressed are, and there are 5 of them, are there modifications to the process to make it easier to get access to numbers through the TRS database? Number 2, should the Commission modify its approval process to make it easier for enterprises and agencies to get approved, or should the Commission encourage market solutions to develop? 3, should there be a streamlined process for enterprises and agencies to gain access to the volume of VRS calls going into their call center? 4th, what role should the Commission have in setting best practices? And 5th, should there be a minimum quality standard for the DVC centers? And on to the last one. The Commission could ask the DAC to undertake potential future related work efforts that could include development of best practices for DVC centers and further development on issues to address in a notice of proposed rulemaking or an NPRM. Okay, that is a summary of the report that was submitted this past August 7th. And the DAC members have had an opportunity to review that report and provide feedback. And that happened by August 30th. So now, if we go to the next slide. Next slide. I just want to express my sincere appreciation for our content writers. We've got Michael Maddox, Julie Robinson, and Linda Vandeloop. They've been working tirelessly on developing this report so that we could share it with the full DAC, and it's amazing. Plus, the DVC working group has been fantastic at providing feedback. So I'd like to thank you. And at this point, I'd like to turn the floor over to, who am I turning over to?
So, Richard, you can keep the floor. We'll turn off the PowerPoint.
Okay. All right, go ahead with the names. Okay. So, I would like to recognize the working group members. We've got Apple, AT&T Corporation, Comcast, NBC Universal, Communication Services for the Deaf, Customer Technology Association, Convo Communications, LLC, CTIA, the Wireless Association, the Hearing Loss Association of America, the National Association of the Deaf, the National Association of State Agencies Serving Deaf and Hard of Hearing, the National Emergency Numbering Association, Sorensen Communications, LLC, TDI for Access, T-Mobile, USA, University of Pittsburgh Rehabilitation Engineering Research Center, RERC, Verizon Communications, ZP Better Together, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, Federal Emergency Management Agency, the U.S. Department of Transportation, National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or NHTSA for short. Okay, now that concludes my report, and I would like to ask for a vote. Okay, ask if anyone has any comments. Okay. All right, any comments or feedback on the report that I just gave? And if you do have anything you'd like to say, please stand your name tent up vertically if you'd like to say anything. Any questions from anyone?
So this is Josh here. This is Josh Mendelson speaking. I just want to clarify one thing, and I'll wait for the camera to be showing me. Josh Mendelson here. Just a point of clarification regarding this process. So we had distributed the final draft to all of the members of the DAC. This was several weeks ago. We had asked for comments and edits ahead of time of the meeting so that we would be able to review those and have those ready for the full DAC to review those during this meeting here. So this is now, for those who have submitted comments and edits, this is now your opportunities to raise those comments and edits here. Now, we already are mindful of what those comments have been. We've already received them, so we are prepared to respond to them. That way we can make this process go a bit more smoothly during this discussion and to save ourselves a bit of time. So, if you have once you've made an edit or a comment, we will have a discussion and then a vote to incorporate that edit. And then we will go to the next edit. Again, we will take a vote, accept or deny that. And if there are no more edits, then we will have our final vote on the report as amended. So I will turn it back over to Mr. Richard Ray.
Thank you, Josh, for that clarification. Okay, so do we have any comments? Oh, I see one. Okay.
This is Anne Marie Killian. I'll wait for the camera to be on me. I'm seated in the back of the room.
Okay, TDI.
Oh, there it is. Perfect. Hello, everybody. Again, Anne Marie Killian. I joined this working group late, so the work had already started. And one of the questions that TDI for Access received from the community is the proposal on the endorsement of DVC. Is that by the FCC? Is that TRS fund? Are you prepared to respond to that question today?
No? Yes?
Shall I repeat the question? Perhaps it was not conveyed clearly enough. Okay? Let me
Yes,
go ahead
please,
and put
if you
my
could
name
repeat.
tent back up and wait for the camera. Okay. Anne Marie again. Happy to repeat the question. In discussions with the community and learning about DVC, a question that has come forward is how is the funding mechanism, how is the endorsement and funding mechanism going to work for DVC? Is every center who establishes a DVC customer line going to pay for it themselves? for their employees? Is it something that will happen through the TRS fund? I didn't have an answer to that question, and I said I would bring it to the table. Was that a clear explication of the question?
This is Josh Mendelson speaking, and I'd be glad to answer your question. So there is currently an open petition by CSD to have DVC services be compensated through the TRS fund. Now, because this is an open proceeding, we are not able to incorporate that into this report. So this report does not include that issue. This report focuses only on DVC deployment, but does not address that issue. As of now, currently it's focused on employers and agency and organizations. They would take on the burden of the cost of DVC services. Now, the issue of compensation from the TRS fund is reserved for a later date.
Thank you.
This is Richard. Thank you, Anne Marie.
This is Brianne Berger, waiting for the camera to focus on me. I'm sitting next to Anne Marie. Perfect. Hello, everybody. Again, Brianne Berger from the U.S. Department of Education. I did submit an edit on August 24th, so I'm just pulling it up on my iPad. Unfortunately, I don't show track changes, so I'll try my best from my memory to remember what my edits were. This is under the section of DVC technology. I propose that we added one more type of technology that is already out there and has been used for several years now. I personally have used it for several years, which is, and I'm not exactly sure of the nomenclature. What my research online produced is that it's a general category for this type of technology. It falls under website chatbot. So I'm sure people have experienced this where, if you go to a company's website and you're looking at something and they get a little pop-up message that says, "Can I help you?" That little pop-up chat bot, many companies are employing that technology. I've used it. And you just type back and forth to either a chatbot or a person, and that technology is there. And it will get you to a live representative if the question cannot be easily answered by the menu. And as a deaf person, I wonder if it would connect to a live representative who is deaf themselves or a signer through that kind of menu, that technology. That's happened. And there are companies, at least 3 companies that I personally am aware of, who are already employing that kind of technology where the live representative who joins the call, so to speak, actually joins visually, and then I can talk to that person in ASL, and they will solve the problem. So that's kind of a direct video communication, in fact. And so I proposed that that our report and recommendations to the FCC include that technology as well. That was my edit. And I sent that in on August 24th.
Okay. Point of information. So that's already included in the report. Website chatbots have already been incorporated in here. And automatic customer service interactions are conversational. And our conversational experiences where customers can contact companies, representatives through chat functions, and also includes video features that offer DVC solutions as well. And that's on page, this is my script, so it's not the actual report, but I believe it's on page 2, maybe.
It's not under
The option to establish DVC includes, and then there's a list of 4 bullet points. Yeah.
Under DVC technology, I'm looking in that section. Do you mean DVC, the section that is entitled
Yes,
DVC?
establish DVC call centers, and that's the category overall, and one of them is that.
You know, I'm on my iPad, it's not as functional as a laptop. I'm not seeing what you're referring to. I don't see it, I'm sorry. Oh, thank you.
Oh. We did, yeah, we did include it.
Oh, okay, so my recommendation,
Yeah, we did.
sorry, was for that actually to be categorized under DVC technology, to move that line, that bullet point to the DVC technology section. And I could explain my rationale for making that move would be to provide companies maybe a greater understanding of what's already out there in the marketplace, what other companies are using. And that was the rationale for moving, because right now it's not there on that list, and I thought it was important to include it there, because as I said, some companies are already using it. They're leaders in this space. And so then that will allow I'm a consultant for some of these companies, that will allow other companies to explore those websites. If we put it out there, then people will know about it. You know, if it's not there, I think that's a lost opportunity. So that's why I wanted it in that section.
So that was in the script, but I believe that we need to vote on her recommendation. So as amended.
So do I make a formal motion?
So we need to have everyone vote?
Would you like me to make a motion? I can do that. This is Brienne, just waiting for the camera. Perfect, thank you. Okay, so I move to include under the section DVC technology, another option that is already available in the marketplace is a website chatbot technology.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and start the voting process, starting on my left.
Does somebody have to second it, or are we not doing that?
Oh, wait, we have to have a second.
And this is Anne Marie, I second.
All right. Oh, AT&T seconded.
That is fine.
Okay, so we've got it seconded. Thank you, Linda. All right, we're going to go ahead and start the voting process, starting to my left.
Darlene Parker, National Captioning Institute, I approve.
Comcast and NBC Universal votes yes.
Sorensen Communications votes yes.
Katie Schmidt, The Arc, I approve.
Matthew Palmer, Clear Captions, I approve.
Beth Slough, Hamilton Relay, approve.
Amazon approves.
American Council of the Blind approves.
National Association of Broadcasters approves.
Apple approves.
National Federation of Blind approves.
Helen Keller National Center approved.
Helen Keller National Center approved.
Access Board abstains.
Hearing Loss Association of America approves.
FEMA abstains. NASADHH approves. Convo Communications approves. U.S. Department of Education, I have to abstain, of course. We are non-voting members. Anne Marie Killian for TDI Access for All approves. HHS abstains. ZP Better Together abstains. CPADO, CPADO approves. Teddy Dorsett III, National Black Deaf Advocates approves. AADB approves.
AT&T approves.
Verizon approves.
Communication Service for the Deaf approves.
University of Pittsburgh Wireless RERC approves.
Anno Caption approves.
CTIA approves.
FITAC approves.
CTA approves. American Foundation for the Blind approves.
T-Mobile abstains.
Perkins School for the Blind approves.
NCTA approves.
National Emergency Numbering Association approves. Okay. Now, thank you, Brianne.
Thank you.
Any other comments or recommendations from anyone? I guess we can proceed with a vote as a whole now for the, yes, as amended. So now, I guess we're going to go ahead and go around the room again. And then that will conclude. So, starting to my left.
National Captioning Institute votes yes.
Comcast NBC Universal votes yes.
Sorensen Communications votes yes.
The Arc of the United States votes yes.
Clear Captions votes yes.
Hamilton Relay votes yes.
Amazon votes yes.
ACB votes yes.
NAV votes yes.
Apple votes yes.
National Federation of Blind votes yes.
Helen Keller National Center votes yes.
U.S. Access Board abstains, but thinks it's a good idea.
Hearing Loss Association of America votes yes.
FEMA abstains. NASADHH votes yes. Convo Communications votes yes. Education abstains. TDI Access for All votes yes. HHS abstains. ZP Better Together abstains. CPADO votes yes. NBDA votes yes. AADB votes yes.
AT&T votes yes.
Verizon votes yes.
CSD votes yes.
Wireless RERC votes yes.
Anno Caption votes yes.
CTIA votes yes.
FITAC votes yes.
CTA votes yes. AFB votes yes.
T-Mobile abstains.
Perkins votes yes.
NCTA approves.
And to me. The National Emergency Numbering Association votes yes. Okay, that's it. Which means thank you all of you members of the DAC, and the content writers, and our DVC working group. Thank you. Yay! All right. I will now turn the floor over to...
It's to Kim. Thank
Kim.
you.
Oh.
Thank you very much. And after that, I think that we all deserve about a 10-minute break. Again, congratulations on the hard work, and restrooms are outside the room to the left and to the right, and be back in about 10 minutes, please. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I want to keep to the schedule if we can, please. So if we could please come back to our seats. Thank you, everyone.
Hello, everyone. We are restarting our meeting. If you could all take your seats, please. Thanks, everyone, for a very productive morning session. And I am now pleased and honored to introduce Arpan Sura, who will be giving us a recap of a recent workshop co-hosted by the FCC and the National Science Foundation on Artificial Intelligence, or AI, in spectrum management, network resiliency, and consumer empowerment. Accessibility issues were also discussed during that workshop. Arpan Sura is Senior Counsel in the Office of the Bureau Chief at the Wireless Telecommunications Bureau of the FCC, where he focuses on emerging technologies such as next-generation spectrum and technology policy matters, AI, Open RAN, and more. Before joining the Commission in 2023, he practiced for nearly 15 years on telecommunications and tech issues at Hogan Lovells, Sprint, and Arnold & Porter. He holds a law degree from William & Mary Law School and a computer science degree from the University of Texas at Austin. Arpan Sura, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, and I'm very excited to be here. The topic that I'm going to speak about is AI and accessibility, and I thought it might be helpful to go through a roadmap before we get into the particulars. So the first thing I'm going to talk about today is what the FCC has done to date on AI. Next, I'll turn to the topic of accessibility and discuss market developments that may intersect with the agency's focus. Then I'll discuss a few of our accessibility rules that might be impacted by AI. And then finally, I'll close with some thoughts on the kinds of questions that we, both as regulators and as members of the public, might want to ask about the intersection of AI and accessibility. But let's start with the FCC. What is this agency doing on AI? Like many other federal agencies, the FCC is actively considering the implications of AI both on our internal work and external regulations. We don't have AI-specific rules on the books, and as our chairwoman has explained, we are looking at this issue through a lens of optimism, a tool that can drive empowerment rather than a threat that necessarily has to be managed. And as we think about AI, I have this mental model, and it's admittedly oversimplified, but it consists of 4 quadrants. Think of a 2x2 matrix. And on one axis, you have 2 boxes, and AI can be internal-facing, a tool that regulators can use, and it can be external-facing, rules that can govern private actors. And on the vertical axis, the use of AI can take 2 broad forms. The first, to optimize the network performance and experience, and the second, to empower consumers. So as I walk through the FCC's work to date, I will necessarily need to take a little bit of a detour through some of the network AI side issues before I turn to accessibility, and I hope you'll bear with me through that detour, because I think that background is important to contextualize the agency's broader work when it comes to AI. The FCC's Technology Advisory Council is one of the main groups providing technical expertise to the FCC on emerging technologies like AI. And here's some details on the TAC's work as it relates to the AI. The TAC has an AI machine learning working group that focuses on monitoring AI developments and identifying key issues that have dominated the public conversation, like bias and fairness and transparency. Among other things, in 2021, the TAC released a white paper on the importance of artificial intelligence and data for the telecommunications industry and the FCC. And it provided a number of recommendations on how the agency can leverage AI to improve internal decision-making. The TAC has also provided input to the FCC on machine learning for 5G networks and other communications infrastructure, and they continue to evaluate the impacts of AI as the technology matures. Through ongoing collaboration with industry and technical experts, the TAC enables the FCC to take an informed, proactive approach to AI oversight, including ensuring accessibility and equity. Another thing the FCC has done is we have started a notice of inquiry, which we approved in August, to initiate a technical exploration on how we can advance our understanding of real-time non-federal spectrum usage and how modern technologies can enable us to do so in a cost-effective, accurate, and scalable way. So what this NOI has done is it's exploring the ways that new data sources, tools, and methods, including artificial intelligence and machine learning, can provide insight to manage a radio frequency environment that is becoming increasingly congested. So for example, the NOI seeks comment on how we can measure spectrum usage, the benefits, drawbacks, and utilities of other frameworks to conceptualize spectrum usage, and a key component of that evaluation is data. And this is something that's an evergreen concern when it comes to AI. We need good data, we need clean data, data that we can not only use to refine our training sets, but data that we can parse to deliver insights. Without clean data, AI cannot always generate the types of insights that were actionable and accurate. So those are some of the issues that we've teed up in our spectrum usage NOI, and our comments will be due on October 3rd. To the extent that any of your organizations have an interest in those issues, we encourage you to participate in that proceeding. Earlier this July, the FCC and the National Science Foundation held a workshop on the promises and challenges of AI for telecommunications and consumers. This half-day workshop consisted of 2 panels, the first on the spectrum issues that I just discussed, and the second on consumer empowerment. And this event also had keynotes from the chairwoman, several of the FCC commissioners, and senior leaders at NSF. While I've already said much about AI for spectrum and networks, let me just offer a few thoughts about that panel, because it really is a key issue that commands the attention of our top professors, researchers, and technologists that are working in telecommunications. And AI will be critical for unlocking the next generation of wireless technology, whether it's Open RAN or 6G. And so that's why you've heard so much about it already. That panel convened some of the nation's top computer scientists and industry lights who are working on these issues. And one theme, as I just mentioned, is the importance of collecting, curating, and maintaining good data. Data is the backbone of AI, and it forms the training sets for machine learning and a host of neural network models. Now, on the second panel, which I had the privilege to moderate, we looked at AI as a tool and challenge for consumer empowerment. And on this panel, we had 5 panelists representing a diverse mix of industry and public interest from NIST, the National Urban League, McKinsey, the American Association of People with Disabilities, and Transaction Network Services. And we brought this multidisciplinary group together to tackle 2 intersecting questions. What's the current state of AI in the consumer protection space today? And what should industry be thinking about? And my subjective impression is that there was a mix of both optimism and impatience. Our panelist from McKinsey, who helps telecommunications companies implement AI solutions, was the voice of optimism and described some of the exciting use cases that AI can empower in the sector. Our public interest panelists, on the other hand, explained that industry can do more and the pace of change could be faster. Among the themes that were discussed, AI can be a catalyst for greater access to technology and communications for disabled people. And this can be achieved through the reduction of cost and democratization of technology. AI-generated captions are becoming more accurate and available in various settings, including education, employment, and community-based gatherings. And AI can play a large role in the greater availability of audio description and environmental description, which can help many disabled people to be more independent. Let me discuss a couple of other developments that were the focus of our panel, and some of which are happening even more broadly. Advancements in computer vision and machine learning are revolutionizing accessibility for the blind and the visually impaired. AI image recognition can now automatically generate detailed, accurate descriptions of images, photos, videos, and even live environment to convey visual details through well-narrated audio. For example, when a blind user uploads a photo to their smartphone, AI can analyze the image and generate a description, like a group of 5 people smiling and sitting on a bench in a park. There are trees in the background and a dog jumping in the foreground. And this enables those that have limited vision to better understand the content. You're seeing some of this in the development of smart glasses that can recognize objects and text in the environment and read them out loud. It can be used to detect emotion and body language in order to describe nonverbal cues, facial expressions, and social settings more fully. And synthetic vision systems are also aiming to stimulate vision and potentially one day restore functional sight through implants. Though complex, all of this demonstrates the massive potential for AI to fundamentally transform accessibility for the blind. It's also important, of course, that developers design and test these technologies inclusively from the very start in close collaboration with those that have disabilities. And the needs of the visually impaired community, for example, must be considered at every step. So too with speech recognition technology, which is making huge strides in enhancing the accessibility for the deaf and the hard of hearing. Automatic speech recognition can now generate closed captions in real time and transcripts for conversations, videos, lectures, and more. And this allows those with hearing loss to read what they're unable to hear. Some companies are even developing AI-powered apps that can detect who is speaking and attribute captions appropriately. For in-person interactions, smart hearing aids enhanced by AI can amplify important voices and suppress background noise, and that makes it easier to understand in noisy environments. While human sign language interpreters are still ideal in many situations, AI has the potential to expand accessibility in new ways, but thorough testing, of course, must be done to ensure that accuracy, latency, and the preservation of tone and intent are maintained before these technologies are relied on too heavily. So the next thing I want to touch upon is the suite of regulatory considerations that may be in play as these technologies become more pervasive in society. As we all know here, the FCC has established various regulations around accessibility for persons with disabilities, and these are important for us to consider as these technologies develop. The key one is the 21st Century Communications and Video Accessibility Act of 2010, or the CVAA, which updated our accessibility laws to account for modern technology. And here the CVAA emphasizes that accuracy and quality are paramount when using automated means of captioning. So, a key question that we're going to have to ask is, to what extent is human oversight and checks necessary to avoid content errors that would make that content inaccessible? And the level of engagement that developers should have with the deaf and the hard of hearing community when designing these systems. Likewise, Section 255 of the Communications Act requires telecommunication services be made accessible to people with disabilities where readily achievable. And AI assistants like Siri and Alexa already provide accessibility features. But as these speech recognition features improve, more advanced communication features that are tailored for hearing, visual, cognitive, and motor disabilities will emerge. And we're seeing legislation. Most recently, I saw the Communications, Video, and Technology Accessibility Act, or the CVTA, which would give the FCC even greater authority to address accessibility of emerging technologies like AI. So as AI evolves, a lot of experts are anticipating that there may be new considerations to ensure that AI products don't create barriers and to make sure that the technologies that are being brought to market to help those that have accessibility challenges are being deployed in a way that's equitable. So let me finish with a few closing thoughts. We're obviously at the beginning of a long conversation regarding AI and accessibility. It's going to be a challenging one, and I don't pretend to have any answers. But let me just close by proposing some questions for further thought to help stimulate the conversation that the DAC has on these issues. The first is the evergreen question of sectoral AI laws versus horizontal laws. While it's tempting to talk about sector-specific AI in an FCC working group, there's actually a robust conversation on whether that's the right way to think about it. A lot of stakeholders think that sector agnostic or horizontal frameworks should guide AI, and that we should eschew special rules for targeted industry. And so, one question that I just put out there for further thought is whether our horizontal frameworks whether they're sufficient to address AI risks, and if not, where is targeted sectoral focus needed? We've had these types of conversations in the privacy and data security context spanning the last 20 years, and we've settled on a mix of sectoral and horizontal standards. I don't think that conversation is over, but we're seeing a reprise of that discussion in the AI context. And so as professionals in the telecommunications sector, that's one thing to keep in mind. There's also the threshold question that has animated the conversation about AI from the very inception, and this also kind of tracks some of the discussions we've had around privacy and data security, and that's whether we should look to soft law or industry best practices to guide responsible use of AI, particularly in the accessibility realm, and when and whether a heavier hand is needed, whether the government can intervene in a way that would correct any market imbalances or address gaps in sectoral best practices. What is the state of progress such that we should let the lighter approach continue to bloom, and when is the time right for intervention? Those are very difficult questions that are often asked when we see nascent technology, and those are the same kinds of conversations we're seeing in this space among thought leaders and other federal regulators. So those are a couple of questions that I throw out there for future consideration as the DAC continues its good work. That's all I have. Thank you for the opportunity to speak before you, and if you should have any questions, do feel free to send me an email.
Thank you very much, Arpan. It's really great as a lawyer. It's good to have someone who understands both the law and the technology. So thank you for your efforts. Next, I'd like to introduce an update from the Audio Description Working Group of the DAC and introduce Tom Lodkowski, Chair of the Working Group, as well as Vice President, Accessibility and Multicultural Technology and Product at Comcast NBCU, who will give an update on a working group which is examining the transmittal of audio description files to Internet Protocol programming. Tom?
Thanks, Kyle. Is the camera set? Okay, great. Hello, everybody. Tom Lodkowski here, as Kyle mentioned, and I'm glad he mentioned the long name of our audio description working group. A few of us just decided at the break we're just going to call it the DAC AD working group. It's just easier. But the goal of this group really is to look at the current state of audio description, the challenges and opportunities that we need to deal with, both from a technical side, from a human side, of making sure that audio description maintains as a program moves across platforms. And so several of us have been working on this from the DAC. I'm going to mention the different organizations who are involved here as soon as I pull up the contact list here. So the members involved here are the organizations, rather: Amazon, the American Association of the Deafblind, American Council of the Blind, American Foundation for the Blind, Apple, City of Boston Disability Commission, Comcast NBCU, and I'm honored to be able to chair this group as a representative of Comcast. Consumer Technology Association, DeCapta, Helen Keller National Center, National Association of Broadcasters, National Captioning Institute, National Federation of the Blind, NCTA, Perkins School for the Blind, U.S. Department of Education, Office of Special Education Rehabilitation Services, Verizon, VITAC, and I think that covers all of the organizations. So why don't we have a report for you all to vote on today? Well, as we got into this, this issue of audio description remaining with programs became a very complex issue, as many of us going into this knew. That wasn't any surprise. And so we needed to speak to several different stakeholders and experts. We also needed to look at and examine the existing ecosystem. So how is audio description prepared? Who requests it? Where is it delivered? Is it delivered to, a studio, to a network? In the case of, say, NBC, is it? And then once delivered, what happens to those audio tracks? Do you get a full mix of the program plus audio description, or do you get just a standalone audio file that is just the descriptive narration? Most of it today, spoiler alert, is full mix of program audio and audio description. What are some of the future opportunities? What are the differences between what we would consider to be a traditional MVPD, multi-channel video program distributor, like a cable company such as Comcast, versus a streamer like someone in this room here, Apple, Amazon, and others? Obviously, we know the world is converging, so traditional MVPDs are also now in the streaming business. Example from my house would be Peacock, the NBC streaming service. And so how does that play out? All sorts of different issues along the distribution chain had to be examined. So we heard from folks in the NBC Media Operations Group, who essentially receive audio description files and then, essentially, make sure that they're part of a a broadcast asset or a streaming asset, and they actually prepare those files to move to different distribution platforms. We heard from James Craig at Apple to talk about how Apple is configured and some of the benefits of object-based audio, which when we do put this report out, you'll read more about that. Tim Carroll from Dolby Systems. Dolby does a lot in the audio codec space. So again, Atmos. You might have heard of Dolby Atmos. So that's another presenter. We heard from several audio description producer vendors, Vitac and NCI and Decapta, telling us about how their relationship works with vendors, et cetera. And of course, we heard from consumers and a very helpful survey that AFB did a while back around some of the challenges that consumers are facing with AD and the usage of it and some of the barriers involved. So where are we in the process? We just, July was a big convention month in the blind community, so we basically lost a month there. And then you have summer vacation. So where are we? We have a draft that the full working group has received yesterday. We're going to meet this afternoon to discuss that draft. I believe, as do some of the others on the writing committee, that the report is in fairly good shape. Obviously we want to give the full working group a chance to react to it and incorporate any kind of comments or edits that they may wish to contribute. I am, crystal balling this. I think the report probably is finalized by the working group sometime in early October, so it will be ready for the full DAC at our next meeting for a vote, and we'll get deeper into the report at that time. I want to just ask any other members of the writing committee or working group if I missed anything and would like to offer any input at this point. Hearing none, I'm going to turn it back to you, Kyle.
Great, thanks, Tom. Appreciate your hard work on this. And next, I would like to reintroduce Josh Mendelson. I mentioned that public participation is very important for the DAC process, and so Josh will take us through that.
Hello, everyone. I am Josh Mendelson. I am the designated federal officer for the DAC. This time is now for us to receive any public comments or questions that have been sent to us from the public participants. We have two different ways to do this. If you are here in person and you would like to make a comment, then you could come around to the back row where you will see a gap between two of the seats, where you will also find a microphone, so you can sit and provide your comments or ask your question there. Another way to do this is by submitting an email to livequestions@fcc.gov. So I would now like to ask members of the public who are currently here in person if there are any individuals who would like to step up to provide comments or ask a question. Okay, seeing none, it seems nobody is brave enough to step up to the plate in the back row and give their comments or ask their questions. As far as I know, we do not have any comments via the live questions email inbox, so I would like to now turn it back over to Kyle.
Thanks, Josh. In closing, just wanted to say thank you to everyone. This underscores how much is going on both at the FCC and within the DAC to further this important work. In many cases, DAC members I know are prioritizing this work over other responsibilities. So on behalf of the DAC, we thank you and your organizations and look forward to our next session. Kim?
Kyle. Definitely a productive meeting. Thank you to all the presenters, the staff. What a lot of work goes into preparing for this group to get together. So just want to reflect and express my appreciation to everyone for their roles and doing such a great job. So I get to share with you the designated date for our next DAC meeting, so you can get it on your calendars. It is January 25th. And so from 9 a.m. Eastern Time, just as this meeting was set up. So at this point, I will indicate that a couple organizational members have requested consideration of a virtual meeting for January. That has not been determined as of yet, but given the time of year and the travel issues that often come up for those of us who have to travel, I have been told that it's under consideration. So if you have super strong feelings about that one way or the other, you might want to express them to Josh. And that can be put into the weight of which way we might end up going with a January 25th meeting. But please do put it on your calendars and plan for that in 2024. So I think unless there's any last minute questions from any of you, I'm going to hand the meeting back to Josh for logistics about lunch. And I don't want to stand between you and your lunch. That's not a good place to be after all the hard brain work we've had this morning. So thank you again. And Josh, I'll let you wind it up with logistics.
Hello again, this is Josh Mendelson. First, I would like to close the live video portion of this meeting so that we can shift our attention to the logistics afterwards. So I would now like to adjourn, or rather ask Kyle to please adjourn this meeting if you would.
We are adjourned.